You know, going into this episode, I was open to the possibility that I might just be better off no longer reviewing this show. To be clear, I do still intend to stick through Lovecraft Country through the remainder of this first season just to try and give it a fair shake, but after the last two episodes, the previous one especially, if this one rubbed me the wrong way as much as those ones did, I was prepared to put up a video just explaining why I wasn't going to do reviews anymore. Because, if I've come to the conclusion that something isn't really for me, but for whatever reason I'm going to continue to push through it anyway, at a certain point, especially something like where I'm criticizing every piece of it, i.e. every episode, I'm just yucking somebody's yum, and I don't want to do that. So I didn't know what I was going to be shooting when I started watching that video, and because I liked that episode, I guess I'm, at least for now, going to keep doing episode by episode reviews. I mean, I kind of needed this episode because it's a flashback episode and it's set in the Korean War. And due to that, it is free from most of the baggage I was having the most issue with in the previous couple of episodes. So we'll see how I feel when we get back to the present, what is the present for the characters, and I have to actually start contending with that baggage again. We'll see. I don't know. But for now, I liked this one. I thought it was good. It brought back a number of things that, frankly, I was missing. I was missing the sense of mystery. Because they had that, definitely in the first episode, but it felt like it had been gradually fading ever since then. I hadn't felt like the sense of what is going on for a while. Definitely nowhere near as strong as I had felt it during episode 1. Episode 2 had a little. Episode 3 didn't really have it that much. It was pretty clear what was going on, but that still connected with me on a pretty deep level. But then 4 and 5, I'm just like, I feel like I know what I'm watching. And it's grotesque and it's clearly trying to say something, but like, where's that sense of, I don't know what this is I'm looking at? And I had that come back the first time she calls them her tails. Yeah, that brought back the what? And I was missing the what? I'm just going to make a huge derpy face and so people can screen cap that and make me look like an absolute moron. Or at least more of a moron than I already come across if you just take me in context. So, that helped. And we get a little bit of an explanation of what is going on, but it still, at least for me, felt unusual enough that it wasn't like something that I immediately wrapped my head around. So and this is not to knock on episode 3. Again, I really liked episode 3, but episode 3 was a ghost story. I know how ghosts function in a Western set story. I know how that goes, and that is how it went, and it used it very effectively. But here, they're bringing something, and they even kind of explain what it is, but I'm like, this is so unfamiliar to me that even when you explain it, it's still weird and, mysterious to me, and I like having that feeling back. It also managed to get some emotional connections. I tried to combine the words, I don't know why, for me as well, with, the way that she feels disconnected from so much of what's going on around her. Now, the reason ends up being very unusual, but, escaping into movies, trying to connect to people through any kind of shared interest and still not building much of a connection. I'm like, yeah, I feel like I've been there on occasion, every now and then. And there was a line that she had that she says to Atticus that I loved. I love this line. We have done monstrous things, but that does not make us monsters. Now, here's the thing. It's really important, if you're going to have a line like that be delivered, it matters a lot who is saying that. Because in the mouth of the wrong character, that is something that could basically come across as somebody rationalizing atrocious, horrific, monstrous behavior that is possibly even ongoing. It's the kind of thing that you could see someone using as like a more poetic version of ends justify the means. I'm doing horrible things, but that doesn't make me a horrible person. But because it's coming from the mouth of a character who is very torn, doesn't really have a place in this world, and is doing things that are not good, but like it seems to, the fact that that is happening seems to be something they can't escape. That makes that line powerful. I feel like that's important because every now and then when we talk about really impactful lines, sometimes I feel like people don't recognize the context of who was saying it under what circumstances. Because some lines are great lines regardless. Other lines need to be delivered by the right people. And that was absolutely the right person to deliver that line. So that worked really well for me. Also, this did a lot of good with Atticus for me. So with him, it doesn't sugarcoat what he did. And we know that he said he'd done bad things in war, but I didn't have reason to believe prior to this that it was anything more than what anyone would do in a war situation, which is, yes, you're going to kill other human beings, but presumably they're also trying to kill you, which, while that doesn't make the situation any less inherently traumatizing, does at least, give you some kind of rationale. But we watch him shoot an innocent woman in the head and prepare to shoot another one because they're trying to weed out a spy, and these other people are disposable. And yes, he was given an order. Yes, he's just following orders. But, anyone who thinks that that is an excuse and absolves them, you're wrong. You just are. And I think he knows that. Because when he says I was following orders, you can tell he is clutching to that as anything to hold on to as to why maybe it's not completely his fault. And I also really like that the episode allowed him to get emotional, to honestly break down a little bit. And like on the military base, in uniform, big strapping looking guy that he is, choking back tears as she's talking to him, trying to get through to him. That was great. That was wonderful stuff. And I also felt like, while you could still make an argument that there wasn't a need for it to happen as often as it did, and for it to be as prolonged as it was, but I felt like the nudity and the sex scenes in this felt more relevant given the nature of what's going on. I'm doing a bit more to avoid spoilers this time. It's funny, I'm always way more careful about spoilers when I'm talking about something that I like, whereas I kind of don't care if I'm talking about something I don't like. That's something I kind of always do. But with everything going on, to get us into, as much as we can, get into her headspace and come to understand her, I feel like there was a reason for them to be there, and for them to be, again, maybe not as prolonged and as explicit as they are. That feels a little bit like HBO just wants boobs. But it felt way more justified that they were there at all than it has in some of the recent episodes. So I appreciated that. That worked quite well. The interaction between her and her mother, her mother, and I guess this is getting a little bit more into spoilers, because we find out that effectively what happened is she's a vengeance demon, sort of, in the physical form of this woman's daughter. But the daughter isn't part of her makeup. Whenever she kills these men, she absorbs their memories. And the first person she killed was the husband and stepfather of this woman that she now looks like. And she took all his memories, and through those, she was able to approximate how this person would have behaved. And the mother clung to that, thinking, you're in there somewhere, but she's not. She knows enough to give you things to latch onto, but you sent your daughter away somewhere and brought in a machine of sexual death in its place. I say machine, she's not a machine. She has feelings. She has emotions, and that's another thing that this mother's been hammering into her for so long, you're a monster, you're a monster, you're a monster, nobody can love you. You can't love. But then she sees, like, I'm feeling things for other people, and other people are feeling them for me, which means you're wrong. And that, I mean, it shouldn't be a huge surprise that that kind of connected to me. Now, again, for context for myself, I've been very fortunate in terms of my own gender journey through my life to not have that kind of rejection. But I've seen it happen, and I've had friends that it has happened to, and it is horrifying when it does happen. And so I felt that kind of connection through it. When I can connect with this show, when there's something for me to grab onto, I really do like it. I just wish that was more than literally only half the episodes. Because I connected really well with episodes 1, 3, and now 6. But 2, 4, and 5, to varying degrees, left me very cold or upset. So this thing is a roller coaster for me. And part of that may be, and I've acknowledged this before, and I just want to reiterate it because I want to be as clear as I can. The feelings that I share about this show in any given episode are me from my place, and I'm not trying to say this is how anyone else should feel about it, because I can look online and see lots of people with very different backgrounds and very different life experiences from mine who are connecting with this, and it's quite possible that the show as a whole is written for them and not for me. And if there was nothing that I'd connected to, I would have bailed by now. But there are still things happening that I'm able to connect to, so I want to stay and hope that I can have more of that. But it's hard for me to look forward to the next episode because it's been so up and down for me in terms of whether or not I've been able to connect with it. And that doesn't make it bad. It just means I may have to accept the possibility that it doing something that I can connect with may not be intended, but instead is just an outcropping of other stuff that it's doing. And sometimes when it's not doing that specific stuff, it's not going to be for me. Like that might just be what it is. But Lovecraft Country, episode 6, what did you think about it? Whatever your thoughts are, drop something down in the comments. Let's talk about usual stuff, like, share, subscribe. I have a Patreon. I have other channels, links to all these things down in the description, but no pressure either. Because we like to take a relaxed attitude around here. So come on back next time you need a break.